Hey, what's up? This is 36 Drew coming to you, N3O Clan representing. This is Game 3 of the N3O Clan Finals. The games are not commentated in order in the sense that Game 2 will be coming next, and Game 3, of course, is the last game played. This will be British versus Japanese on Patagonia. With these particular civs, there are any number of things that could happen. Hunts are, shall we say, moderate on this map. They're not crazy like on Painted Desert or Great Plains. But there are enough for a Japanese player to abuse shrine booming, things of that nature. Having played Caesar many times, I do know that he really does enjoy going for shipping those fishing boats first and shipping them once he's in H2, and really you can get a pretty hefty boom like that. You noticed early on that I accidentally built a market thinking that I had 3 wood crates, when in reality I had 2. Thank God I didn't build too much of the market, otherwise I would have been in an awful amount of trouble. I actually only lost 1 wood, so I'm really not too concerned. With my sheep here, I like to use them to scout. You have to be a little bit careful when playing a Japanese player though, simply because if they gather those, they can pass them on a shrine, and really the last thing you want to do is be contributing to a shrine boom for a Japanese player. Now, in this match, I have my strategy picked right from the get-go, and I really don't plan on diverting from it at any cost. This is, in my opinion, a fairly balanced matchup. It depends what stage of the game I guess you look at. Maybe early on Brits have a better boom, but the longer the game goes, Japanese tends to get an advantage, and really it can be frustrating for anyone to play against a Japanese player once they get rolling. I think in the next fan patch, with the shrine limit being changed to 15 and the villager build limit being increased to 80, that's just absolutely phenomenal changes, and we'll see a much more balanced Japan. Also, if you're wondering what the strategy I'm going to choose is, I'm going to make nothing but muskets and colonial. I'm going to plan on making 15, 20, 25, and then get up to fortress at a reasonable time. In the post-game graphs, when I take a look, I get the fortress at 1041. Why am I going to fortress, you ask? Simply put, for falconets. There is no better reason to go to fortress against Japan than for them. However, the one thing you have to be careful is that if a Japanese player is able to get to H3 and they're able to train those ranged cavalry units with big bonus versus artillery, I won't even begin to try to pronounce it because I will be sure to offend somebody in the Japanese community. They just absolutely murder artillery, whereas in H2, a large Yumi mass can, pose a bit of a problem. However, if you have enough falcons, you should be in not bad of position. And early on here, I'm going to grab a 225 food treasure, and I'm like, oh geez, he's just seen it. And I looked at the replay to see if he had indeed scouted it, and he was just in his line of sight when one of his monks walked by. And, I'm sitting here just waiting, getting ready to click, and of course he walks in and screws it up, and I don't know why I didn't zoom in on the treasure, and I lose a 225 food treasure early to a Japanese player, which of course is going to affect his age up time, making him age sooner, and of course is going to hurt me in terms of gathering food and such for upgrades. That's a pretty influential treasure, especially when you're talking about this level. It's ironic that treasures, end up being such an important factor. However, the game must go on, and, I'm not going to resign or anything. That's just lame. So, we look at the hunts that are around the map. I've got some reasonable hunts. If you look especially towards the northwest side, you can see 1, 2, 3 hunts, and in my line of sight, I can also count 4 mines. So, in terms of map balance and that, it was fairly balanced. Interestingly enough, the trade post doesn't really affect either of these civs too much. Brits are usually busy investing wood in things like manors, or even you would probably go for docks and fishing boats before you would trade posts on this map. It is nice because it is so protected, and against civs that have the 3 trading post card, or against civs like France, where you end up often just having a bit more eco to spare, a bit more resources to spare, you can invest in something like the trade route. Also on RE patch, where trade posts are cheaper, it gives you additional incentive to take a look at investing in those. However, on our RE patch, I'd go as far as to say that they're a little bit too cheap. Don't get me wrong, if I play it, I'm going to abuse it, but it's just not balanced. So I really don't know where that change came from, when RE released that patch. By the way, while I'm doing this right now, Ensemble Studios, Robot Entertainment is currently fixing the server's maintenance. Maybe there's a patch. Unlikely, but you never know. We can always always hope. First card, of course, is 700 wood. Pretty standard for Brit gameplay going H2, especially for my gameplay. And there, you know what, his villager is going to steal another bloody treasure of mine. There goes up the barracks. Okay, tower's going to be placed right beside it. Semi-forward, not super aggressive. That would just be stupid. There's really no need to be forward super aggressive in this match. And generally with Brits, I tend not to be too forward aggressive. And there I noticed, he's got a samurai, and the samurai killed me, and he had 67 HP. Well, you know what that means? He H-shoves with Torii Gates. So, I'm expecting that samurai to come running forward, attempt to siege a forward barracks, and to possibly cause me some grief here. Anyway, he's also an Inca treasure kicking around, and of course now that it's hit age 2, it's lost its multiplier, or negative multiplier I should say, versus villagers and everything else. So, you know, you have to just be a little bit concerned about what he might do. And I'm going to start spamming muskets right away, and grab the steel traps upgrade and the placer mines upgrade fairly soon after. It looks like I went to click it there, but may have misclicked it. And you know, like I said, that's pretty much standard Eurociv play right now, is to have hunting dogs, steel traps, and placer mines as quick as possible. And there I'm able to repel his early sort of little harassment, but I do know that there's probably some units right behind it. Next card is going to be, the card order basically is 700 wood, 5 vills, 700 coin. You know, it's not really a max boom option for Brits. You kind of sacrifice a little bit of the eco option in favor of getting up to age 3 as quick as you can. And really, for Brits to be to age 3 before 11 minutes, in this case it's 10:41, is, you know, simply not something you would see with normal Brit gameplay. So there I see he's got a group of Ashies, either trained or shipped, and then I notice he's got a lot of Ashies, and he's got a samurai and explorers and everything else mixed into that mass. And you know, I'm kind of not too thrilled about that. I don't have any military units of my own that I can ship. In this matchup, I would never build a deck where I have them to ship. I just don't really think it's viable. Versus some civs, namely heavy rushing civs like the Iroquois, they might be the only time that I even bother to ship military as Brits. Usually with Brits you get such a better return on other cards like 700 wood or 5 vills or 600 wood or 4 vills or 700 coin that shipping military, you know, it isn't productive. You got to play Brits for their advantage, which is their boom. And it really, if you can hold off just, you know, for the first several minutes of the game, it will be well worth the reward. If for some reason you can't, then I suppose you should ship military, but yeah, I don't really see that as being a viable option a lot of the time. In some cases, yes, I know there's a 21 musk rush where you can get 21 musk out really quickly, and you know, you have 6 being shipped to the forward tower and everything else, but you know, that's a whole nother story. And there, Caesar, you know, decides to go for sieging the tower. His musks are faring quite well. His card order has been, once in H2 he's gone for 5 Ashies and 5 Ashies, so you know, that along with getting the free rickshaw from the Torii Gates, and you know, being able to abuse getting additional experience from the age up, has given him undoubtedly the ability to sort of rush as Japan. I wouldn't call it, you know, a straight out rush, but you know, it's definitely given him a more early agenda, whereas if you just sit back and shrine boom. By the way, I deck creeped on him earlier in the game, and in age 1 I noticed that he had the 3 villager card, and that was likely going to be the option that he takes, because I couldn't actually remember this for sure, but you know how Japan can send all cards twice. I believe 3 fishing boats can be sent twice, and you can tell if the card's been sent because it doesn't have the 2x option there anymore. And you know, there was no longer the 2x option. So someone correct me if I'm wrong if 3 fishing boats can be sent twice, but I think it can. And you know, 3 fishing boats is an interesting choice because it doesn't ship or doesn't gather as quickly as 3 villagers, and I'm not sure what the rationale for that is. I know it's just the way it is, and I don't foresee that changing, but you know, I'd be curious what the original by design reasoning was for that. You know, of course I'm continuing to try to manage my eco and everything else, and again, I kind of feel like I'm moving at a snail's pace this game. However, you know what, it ends up being enough to get the job done, and really as the game goes, I'm going to slow down a little bit. And here, you know, I've ceased villager production. I'm going to age up, keeping in mind that I think he's gone for some fishing boats. I am going to age up with the Admiral of the Sea, which is going to give me 400 wood, and it's going to give me a caravel. And there we go, finally have the resources to do that. Always keeping my eye on the mini-map, looking to see if there's any Ashi raids incoming, because of course with their super high rate of speed, it's quite possible for them to sneak in the back door and just absolutely decimate my economy. And we don't want that to happen. The few times that I've played versus Japanese, or H2O's Japanese, basically it was just like 800,000 ashies all over the place all the time, and it's just so frustrating to play against someone who who is able to take advantage of that. And there you see the foundation going up, really nice. It costs 200 wood. That's a big boost for this strategy. And also the 400 wood I'm going to get from aging up is going to be useful for making my musks go to veteran status, and for having the wood to produce a couple of falconets upon age. Also, I'm going to be shipping some falcs additionally as soon as I hit the next age, which of course is the 2 falc shipment. Interesting post on the forums yesterday about you know, why can't I get any better, and so on and so on. And somebody was saying that, you know, people can copy and paste build orders, and yes, you can, and that you don't really get any better. And well, it kind of depends in my eyes. So let's say that you copy and pasted the French 5 Musk, 5 Huss early build order, which basically, you know, a lot of people have done. And you know, there's a million French build orders that everyone can copy and paste that really aren't too difficult. It's interesting because, you know, if you copy one of these, it'll get you through the first, you know, 6, 8, 10 minutes of the game, and you might be able to match a top player step for step. Let's say you're playing Samwise 12 or Chalet or H2O or any of those guys. You know, you might be able to match them step for step early on in the game, but that's where everything falls apart if you just copy and paste a build order. You need to be able to adapt to new circumstances. You need to be able to adapt to what's happening in the game. And here you see Caesar undoubtedly has noticed that I'm aged, and he has cause for concern because he's going to immediately run in and know that the time that right when you age is absolutely the time when you're most vulnerable. My units haven't been upgraded to veteran status yet. I don't have a shipment here quite yet. It is on the way, but I need to hold out until this happens. I'm trying not to lose too many villagers here. 2 falcons on the way. Right there, my muskets become veteran. Going to pop out Minutemen here. Really do anything I can, and I do have my own falc training from the artillery foundation. Going to make sure they pop out on the right side and able to get a volley off and cause some big time damage. There we go. Nice to see good old splash damage, area damage coming from falcs. And got to be a little bit careful with everything that's going on. Don't really know what card to actually ship here. Going to ship for ship 5 Hussars. Just thinking that, you know, anything that I can do to help keep him running around at this point is going to be ideal. And I think in my eyes that I got a pretty good advantage here, but Caesar holds on very well. And I haven't really seen too much on the sea yet, even though I've shipped my Caravel, or not shipped, I've got it from the age up. However, I'm going to throw it in the control group and just sort of keep it moving around. And, looks, he did go for the sea boom there. And I'm going to, you know, just keep it in control group and see what I can do. And there I get great positioning for these falcons to get off a volley. And, you know, this is just simply the way I want this game to be at this point. I have the age advantage, I have the falc advantage, and, you know, I've been able to get several volleys off. However, I notice here that he's actually shipped 2 of the Japanese Caravels. Not 100% sure in the pronunciation again, not going to offend anybody. So I'm actually quite happy that he's done that, because he's, in my eyes, wasted a card. I don't really think that it was worth it to ship those units at the time. However, maybe from his perspective, he could have ended up losing a number of fishing boats. He could have thrown up a castle on the shore or something. So again, you know, I guess it's in the eye of the beholder, like I was saying earlier. And he's got a couple of forward Raxes here, so this is going to be nice to take down, as well as a couple of shrines, a consulate. So I'm really pushing, and I'm really in his face right here, really trying to be aggressive. And then I have more falcons coming to the forefront. And, you know, I have a nice mass of musketeers to provide the anti-cav that I need, and just generally they're a solid, well-rounded unit, which is, you know, basically exactly what you need. Next card is 1,000 wood, just contributing to the boomy factor, and, you know, 1,000 wood is basically almost always good to ship as any civ. You know, useful for getting up a second town center, useful for getting a bunch of manners up. I haven't been really focusing on the boom very much here, which is, you know, not normal gameplay for a Brit, but that said, when you've got the age advantage and you're doing something like massing falcs, who really cares? So anyway, just going to continue to push toward his base here, and you know, I'm hoping that he's not able to get H3, because if he gets H3 here, I know it's going to be GG. And I've played this matchup, you know, enough times to know that fighting this match in H3 is just super hard. And there's the Torii Gates, which I figured out he had because of the samurai, and the experience numbers weren't quite adding up to what they should have been. You know, Explorer dies, should have been 50 HP. Samurai shows up, you know, 67 HP. Well, that just confirms everything. And you know, got a pretty nice mass here. 6 Falcons, about 30 muskets, 5 Hussars that were shipped, and really causing some big time damage here. Gonna creep in, and I'm just gonna go straight for the TC. One of the things I don't like about Japanese, and I think is absolutely downright wrong and should be changed, is if you destroy a Japanese player's TC, they can still build a wonder and go to the next age, which, you know, is just, it's quite frankly, it's not fair. If you look at Euro civs and they lose their TC, they don't have the option of going to the next age. So don't ask me where that came from, but it's just, you know, my thoughts on the subject. And here he's got a mass of Nagita riders, and I almost miss micro my musketeers a little bit too poorly, but still I'm able to save enough of the falconets that I'm able to really cause significant amounts of damage here. And you know, going to start to sort of individually micro them, clicking them, or at least clicking small numbers of them on groups, so that, you know, we have some area damage and they're not accidentally firing at buildings. There's nothing worse than when your Falcons fire at buildings in the middle of a fight. That is absolutely not what they should be doing. However, even if I lose this fight, I'm still thinking in my mind, well, you know, I destroyed a TC, I destroyed a couple barracks, I destroyed a consulate, I destroyed a couple shrines, I destroyed a market. Like, he's got to be hurting. But that said, he's got a pretty damn good mass. Like, you know, it's like, how is he maintaining this? However, next card is going to be Musketeer Combat. You know, of course, they're my primary unit that I'm spamming for my barracks, so it just seems to make sense. Gonna throw up a second town center there, start to sort of, you know, get back into boomy mode. And you notice my villager production hasn't exactly been constant. Actually gonna cancel Musketeer Combat, I kind of forgot that I did that, in favor of the Caravel, thinking that the Caravel can probably handle those 2 ships that are on the sea, and can probably, you know, end up causing him a great deal of difficulty in maintaining his eco. You know, basically he's kind of in a tough situation here, and you know, I've got the age advantage. Not sure if he's going to be able to afford to age up, and if he does, I know that it's going to spell trouble. Not sure if he's going to sit in H2 and continue to mass. Really not too sure what's going to happen here, because I don't have a huge amount of muskets left anymore, or Falcons. My army is kind of not in the greatest of shape. However, I do have a pretty sizable score advantage, so I'm kind of thinking, well, let's see what happens here. Versus Japan in this same situation, I've ended up losing this match more times than I would care to admit. And there we get, you know, the nice 11 plus, you get the volley off, and gonna use the broadside attack on my frigate to those 2 ships, and of course they would have been damaged before from when they were engaging my 1 Caravel that I got from the age up. And you know, just taking a look at the HP on each to see if there's one that I can sort of one-hit kill, and there is, and so I managed to do that tasking. And my Explorer dies, who's building the town center, no surprises there. Gonna start to throw up a tower there, a little bit late. Gonna have to run some muskets back to start to address that issue. Gonna end up losing several villagers there, but you know, that's okay. Nice thing about frigates is I believe that they one-hit kill a fishing boat, and of course they have a nice amount of range, so I can, you know, even use it to pick off some shrines and things like that from the shore. Also, you know, one of the things about, you know, using a musketeer-based army and not adding in any goons and such is sometimes it's a little frustrating, I find, you know, wishing that they would walk quicker. Maybe that's why people love their ashies so much. Some of the other ways that people play this match are, you know, going heavy on longbow, then adding in pike, even adding in Huss. However, sometimes Cav against Japan is just a fail. If they have a large mass of infantry, you know, large mass of even Yumi, they tend to counter cavalry really quite well, which is kind of not the best thing, because we're supposed to have a counter system in place. However, I don't know. Not sure what to say about that. It's just kind of really annoying to play against, but I don't know. Enough about that. Maybe the problem isn't so much with the units. Maybe the problem is the units and the upgrades, or pardon me, the eco and the upgrades to back the units instead. And so here, you know, just continuing to push. Kind of a little bit mismanaging my eco, just a little, which is not surprising given the pressure. And you knew it was going to happen. You know, when you have that many Falcons running around, that eventually you're going to basically end up suiciding them. But his mass here, it's pretty nice, considering, you know, that I've ended up decimating some barracks, decimating a town center, a consulate, everything else. Still holding it together fairly well. Thankfully, we do have one Falcon coming to the front to just repel this attack. Gonna bust a little bit of a shrine there. And in retrospect, you know, I would have paid more attention to shrines. I didn't think that he would be anywhere near housed, but when I watched the replay, at some times in this game, especially as we just, you know, get closer to the end, he was actually housed. So, you know, keeping that in mind, I would have done even more to house him. And there I'm just going to throw out manners like crazy, not really caring too much other than other than the fact that I want those free villagers to spam. You know, pop space is not really an issue with Brits. Be interesting to see how 15 pop manners for 150 wood affects Brits next fan patch. So, you know, like the idea behind it is that it slows down their mid-game boom, and that it kind of affects how well they're able to deal with early rushes. So, you know, in my eyes, I'll probably just be spending the extra resources on more market upgrades rather than more manners early in the game. So, we'll see how that goes. There, see the good old Japanese explorers doing their thing, trying to build shrines, and yeah, I don't think so. GG explorers. Got a couple Nagita riders. You know, of course, just going to continue here to harass him. Couple more Falcons on the way. Starting to spam vills from 2 town centers. There I notice his Caravel-like unit, and you know, nice to have that broadside attack, and boom, it dies. And there we go with Musketeer combat, and you know, going to be pushing in. One of the things about Musketeers is you got to be careful, simply because the minute you pop them into melee mode, they're just going to go and walk and attack the closest unit just by default. I learned that lesson very well from a mill one day, and I actually had him beat up until I was super noob and decided that, oh wow, yeah, let's pop my muskets into melee mode and they'll magically walk over to the cavalry and engage them in melee mode. Yeah, no, didn't really work out like that. So anyway, really don't have too many villagers on food, kind of annoying. However, you just love it when you see that 11 plus, 11 plus, 11 plus, 11 plus. Just is so fun. And, you know, this has got to be close to the end for him, I'm thinking. If he was going to age, I would have thought that he would have done so by now. I'm really thinking that he's in deep trouble based on the amount of score advantage I have. You know, that shrine's, of course, being slightly annoying simply because I can't gather any food from it. And I'm just going to pop those muskets back into ranged mode, get us a little bit of ranged volleying going on. And I like this strategy a lot against a Japanese player. I wouldn't use it all the time, because if you use it all the time, it becomes predictable and a Japanese player can then easily counter it. But it's nice to have in your arsenal of strategies. And in fact, I wouldn't say that it's only useful against a Japanese player. I'd say that it's useful against any number of civilizations, Japanese being one of them. And there you go, just continuing to use my frigate. Talk about control groups here, real simple. Control 1 is my muskets, Control 2 is my Falcons, and Control 3 is my frigate. And I guess Control 4 is I have actually never made a stables. Control 5 is a barracks, and Control 6 is a town center. So really not too complicated in terms of my control groups here. You do got to use control groups, though, in my eyes, to be successful. Maybe you don't have to use them super religiously, but you're going to be more successful if you use them than if you don't use them. There was, mention in, about this thread, oh, I can't get better, how do I get better? And somebody said, well, you got to use control groups. And yes, yeah, you kind of do. When I try playing a game without control groups, it's just, really quite difficult to do. And here we have a big concentration of shrines, and I know that this is really going to hurt. And my score advantage is getting pretty big, even though he's maintaining his military. I know that he can't have a lot of eco left kicking around, and that he's taken some pretty big losses along the way. And there's nothing quite like making 16 Falcons in this matchup. Just absolutely love it. And we're approaching GG pretty quickly here. He can't really do much more to hold on, and this is game 3 of the set. So this is going to be the game that's going to end up winning me the N3O clan first place prize. I am going to put up the second game, the game in which I lost. The only reason I didn't do commentary now is because the matchup is about 40 minutes long, and I just simply I don't have time to do that length of a commentary at this point. Can end up being late for work. You know how that goes. And just pushing in here, giving a frigate, creeping around, just really always being on him, not giving him a chance to reboom and regrow, and always taking advantage of the age 3 advantage. And you just gotta love it. There's nothing quite like a group of Falcons going off against a group of infantry, I tell you. It's almost like as exciting as bombards versus streetlets or something like that. And this is quickly going to be GG. There it is. This is 36 Drew signing off. N3O clan representing. Take care, everybody. Download the fan patch, play RE, do whatever you gotta do. Just keep the game alive. Keep playing until AOE4 comes out, till SC2 comes out. In the meantime, take care, be good, do good, take care.